As a disclaimer, this video contains changes to France that we know of, as of when I'm writing this script. If anything pops up during the editing, I'll try to fit it in as per usual. Also, this video was voted on by the Discord, so be sure to join the server to vote in the next poll. Hey, what is going on, ladies and gentlemen? My name is Quarbit, and welcome to another 1.30 Emperor update video. These videos are intended for people who are interested only in certain aspects of the new update, missed a few dev diaries, or prefer to learn using a video format. Today we'll be talking about the changes coming to France, Burgundy, and the Low Countries, including map changes, missions, and changes to the Burgundian inheritance. Similarly, I made videos for Germany and Italy, so be sure to check those two out after this one. Without further ado, let's begin with the changes to France. As you can see, France's starting position has been balkanized, with 5 tags present that usually aren't there. The duchies of Orléans, Bourbonnais, Auvergne, Armagnac, and Foix now start as vassals of France. Some of France's territories have also been reshuffled to allow for these duchies to exist, and I should also mention that Geneva starts off as a vassal of Savoy. It doesn't particularly pertain to France, but I forgot to mention it in any of the other videos. Fortunately, these changes to France's starting position don't really nerf them at all. Unfortunately, it actually does make them quite a bit stronger than before. Along with the rework to estates, which I won't get into too much today, France starts with something called the French Strong Duchies modifier. This modifier allows France to keep their duchies under control, while also maintaining the extra 20 or so unit vassal swarm that they get. So while this does make France much more interesting to play at the beginning, we might have a few concerns now that France is able to easily raise over 50,000 troops on their side in 1445. I'm sure in some other way it will be balanced probably, as the real-life French duchies were often in opposition to the French crown. So in the beginning, France might look okay on the surface, but there may be rising tensions and events that shift France towards or away from centralization at a certain cost. In any case, we know the player can't quite get rid of this modifier on their own, so we're likely to see a process for centralizing France. Those are all the map changes for France, so let's move on to the new mission tree. The old and sad mission tree for France has been expanded for a much fuller version akin to Britain or Spain's. Without the Emperor expansion, you're likely to simply keep the old mission tree we have right now. Taking a look at this new mission tree, you'll notice that some of the missions already exist currently, but I'll go over the entire mission tree as I would any other because of the number of additions. The leftmost branch has you control the port of Brest in Brittany. Upon conquering, Brest will give you 5 heavy ships and an early dry dock to make your next few missions easier. Next, you'll have to strengthen the Old Alliance and invade England to assert yourself as the future naval power of Europe. Doing so will reward you with a permanent 10% naval morale bonus. The second branch is about retaking the mainland from England and conquering Flanders. The third branch is the long and complicated path to dominance in Europe, the later portions modeled after Napoleon's own expansion. You begin by focusing on the French land in the south, then moving to the east to invade Savoy and Burgundy. The paths then split to focus on the HRE or into Italy. After invading Milan, the Italian wars begin with Spain, where you can eventually claim the Spanish throne as your own. The path leading into the HRE has you destroy the Empire, quote, protect Poland, and perhaps even succeed where Napoleon himself could not in the Russian campaign. The short fourth branch has you establish the Musketeers using a leader with high military skill. By having a university in Paris, 20 military buildings spread out across your provinces, and a high force limit, you can construct Les Invalides. Les Invalides decreases the chance for certain bad events to occur, likely ones where you'd lose professionalism. The rightmost branch deals with the internal matters within France. Starting with breaking the nobility, France must also make sure religious unity is achieved through the institution of the Dragonnade. If autonomy is low enough and stability is high enough, you can enact l'état c'est moi, granting absolutism and yearly prestige. The Versailles Palace grants you prestige and development in Paris, and soon we find ourselves faced with the decision to embrace or reject the revolution. These next two events don't have the effects or requirements listed, but direct towards total dominance in Europe by establishing client states like the Confederation of the Rhine. France's final colonial branch is a little bit larger than before, adding dominance missions to India and Indochina in the east, and establishing the Mississippi Company in the west. French Antarctique has you go to South America and establish a La Platen colony. Sadly, it does not mean Antarctica is being added to the map, no matter how interesting I feel that would be. That's it for France's massive tree. Now let's move on to Provence's. Good King René certainly believed he held a lot of titles, which is the main focus for Provence's mission tree. Upon reaching 100 Dev or taking the island of Corsica, Provence gets cores on all of Naples. Once reconquering the Neapolitan territories that René once held, Provence gets a Force Union CB over Aragon and claims all Aragonese territories. Upon somehow completing that daunting task, you're pushed even further to claim the throne of Hungary and become the King of Jerusalem. Along the way, you're casually suggested to invade France after negotiating for the city of Avignon. Finally, you must focus on the internal state of Provence, ending in the training of a professional army with at least 80% professionalism. Now we get to move on to the lowlands and how they pertain to Burgundy for the rest of today's video. Very few province changes have been made around here, with Sartogenbosch being cut from Breda, and Ressel being added to Flanders. A Frisian culture has also finally been added in. You can probably guess where you'll find this. A united Netherlands will also have a massive mission tree to play around with as well. For such a large tree available to Emperor owners, we get a relatively short explanation for what we'll be seeing. Each Dutch miner will have access to the first 3 branches of the tree. You're encouraged to seek independence and grow in size as soon as possible, as you won't be able to go down the 2 leftmost branches without it. The Sea Beggar's Path has you establish a protective fleet of light ships both for guarding the coasts and your trade. The Dutch Colonial Path is by far the largest, and should make for a fun colonial and trade game. Firstly, by simply being wealthy and seeking ventures in the Baltic, the Dutch learn they can exploit the riches of the other continents as well, and do so with great success. After chartering the West Indian Company, the Netherlands have the opportunity to explore ventures in the Caribbean, Eastern America, and Brazil. With the foundation of the East Indian Company is where the real fun begins. South Africa and Australia are your main colonial opportunities, while your trading ventures send you to India, Malacca, the Moluccas, Japan, and China. Your last 2 branches, available after forming the United Netherlands, have you utilize the Orangist versus Statist mechanics and complete certain missions to increase or decrease their influences. With the French and Dutch changes covered, why don't we talk about the interesting political entity of Burgundy, nested between the 2. Despite strongly remembering a revamped mission tree for Burgundy, I can't quite find it anywhere. So while we confirm that Burgundy will be receiving a new mission tree exclusive for Emperor owners, I can't seem to find it anywhere to display here. Similarly, we know that Brittany and the French duchies will also be receiving their own mission trees as well, but they also don't have them revealed yet. Now let's talk about the Burgundian inheritance itself. Burgundy will no longer be subject only to the fate of pure RNG, and will now have some influence in the decision. Marie, Burgundy's last eligible heir, has to decide which royal family she will marry into. Though she could simply decide to do none of that and fight off the likes of France, the Emperor, and any other potential overlords. Going with France puts Burgundy under a personal union, and the Emperor may ask for his lands back. Going with the Emperor will do the opposite, while France may ask for her claimed land instead. The Emperor in this case could pretend not to listen to France and fracture Burgundy into little duchies to make it appear as a normal part of the HRE. Apparently, Burgundy can also simply ask to join the HRE as well, starting an imperial incident. How this fires and what it does exactly are unknown to us from what I can find. Burgundy could equally choose to go with any of its royal marriages, not necessarily France nor the Emperor. No doubt I imagine there are some requirements just like there are in the current state of the game. This way, we can still see the Spanish inheritance happen from time to time, along with whatever cursed versions I can happen to whip up. So those are the changes to France and the Lowlands. It's my mission to try and cover as much of the new update as possible before it launches. I can proudly announce today that France and the Lowlands are complete. Which part do you want me to cover next? The last map changes to cover are for the Balkans, and we have the changes to religion to cover as well. If you want to see more Emperor content covered on the channel, leaving a like would go a long way to making that happen. And if you don't want to miss the next one, subscribing and turning on notifications is your best bet to make sure you're caught up with every upload. This is Quarbit signing off, and as always, have a fantastic day. I'd like to give a special thank you to the following patrons. In the $1 tier we have Quiet Guy, Quaggersol, Rising Runner, DLNM, and Francesco. In the $3 tier we have Ben Greenhagen. In the $10 tier we have Natsuki. And in the $20 tier we have Chewy Shoot. Thank you guys so much for helping to move this channel forward. You guys mean a lot to me and I couldn't possibly thank you enough.